Good evening, everybody. Nice to see a full house out there. It's the regular scheduled meeting of the South Haven City Council. It's Monday, September the 18th, 2023. I'll call this meeting in order. Invocation this evening, Pastor Antoinette Cox, Body of Christ of South Haven, is here to get us started this evening. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for making that correction. It's a big promotion. But good evening, Mr. Mayor, and each of you council members. It's great to be here. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this another opportunity that we could gather together in unity and in love and the wisdom and the knowledge, Lord, of who you are. And as we gather, we ask God that you would be the initiator of this meeting, of this agenda, that you would give wisdom to each of these councilmen and women that you have allowed to govern this great city of South Haven. Lord, we would ask, oh God, that each agenda item, oh God, as it affects our families, our educational entities, leadership everywhere, we ask that you would guide, that you would lead, and that we would follow and that we would hear. And we just thank you for all that you're doing in this city, allowing these privileges. And we thank you and we give you glory, honor, and we seek, oh God, your understanding in all that we do, that we would walk in that path, and we will give you praise, we'll give you honor, and we'll give you glory. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Cox. Hope to see you back again. And now if you're able to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Jeff Arnold.
Here.
Wendy Onuki. Here. Joe Reeser.
Here.
Steve Schlack.
Here.
George Sleeper.
Here.
Letitia Wilkins.
Here.
Scott Smith.
Here. That takes us to our update from our Van Buren County Commissioner, Ms. Gail Patterson-Gladney. And good evening, Commissioner. Happy Monday.
Thank you for hearing me again. And as I bring an update, many of you already know the news about Holtec International, but I'm going to be letting you know, those who don't know, Holtec International and Wolverine Cooperative signed a historic agreement for the restart of Palisades Nuclear Power Plant. Holtec International, Holtec, is a diversified energy technology company, and Wolverine Power Cooperative, Wolverine, is a not-for-profit power generation cooperative based in Michigan, and they had announced that they entered into a long-term agreement that will pave the way for the restart of the 800-megawatt Palisades Nuclear Power Plant in Covert Township, Michigan. There are still, thank you, sure, some different hurdles that have to take place before the reopening, but it's a historic step that has been made. In the United States, there has not been a restart of a power plant that has been decommissioned before. So we will keep our eyes open for some of the different decisions that are made by the federal government. The loan that they are seeking, we hope that that goes through. And then also, of course, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission has to oversee everything to make sure that the residents are safe and the employees too. So we are looking forward to each step. I wanted to also talk about QPR, which some of you always know I'm talking about. QPR, it's a Suicide Prevention Month, and I'll give you this. It's a free training to learn how to help save the life of a friend, family member, coworker, or student. And the Q is for question someone about their thoughts about suicide. It used to be taboo to even mention the word suicide, but now if you think that someone is considering it's okay to ask them about that, and you'll learn more in the training. The Q is for question, then persuade, the P is for persuade, try to persuade that person to get help, and then refer. So just like CPR helps to save lives, we're hoping that QPR will help to save many lives also. Depression and mental health concerns and suicidal thinking are increasing among children and teens. And as I said before, the QPR hopes to be able to train enough people that they will be aware of what's going on. One of the programs that the county commissioners are considering is a Van Buren County Youth Center for the fine arts. We hope to have the creation of a fine arts center or hubs designed to provide students with access to the fine arts in a manner similar to the VB Tech's delivery of career and technical education. So we're working with David Manson. We also are working with different groups in around the county, Luke's Light, the Youth Development Center, and PAL, Red Arrow Ministries, as I said, the Van Buren ISD, South Haven Center for the Arts, Van Buren Mental Health, Senior Services, Veterans Gardens, Sewing Crafting Groups, the local police and fire and agriculture, and there are other organizations that we're looking at, the Mitten, to reach out to that work with youth already and that are established. So we will let you know more about that. We're going to be having this project on the COW, Community of a Whole, on the next Tuesday that we meet, which is the second Tuesday of the month. We did vote unanimously to pass the money, ARPA funds for $948,000 plus for this project, but we have to do it in the Committee of the Whole and then in the Board of Commissioners. So if you're interested in coming to Paw to have a say in the possible youth center for our county, you're welcome. And also you can view online through Zoom. So I wanted to let you know about that. The Area Agency on Aging has put out their new booklet, and I will be getting some to give to your city manager for all of you, and if you need more for the public, I can get those. This little booklet is very good because it has important numbers and information to connect the older adults and people with disabilities in Berrien, Cass, and Van Buren counties to different organizations. For instance, the adult foster care, adult day services, behavioral health caregiver support, disability services, emergency assistance, elder abuse prevention, employment and training, food assistance, guardianship, home care, and many more. So I will give this to your city manager. One of the things that we voted also on is the sheriff's body scanner. They wanted a body scanner for the jail because they're finding that people are sneaking in drugs in places that you really can't pat down. So this will help prevent possible deaths. So if someone's sneaking in fentanyl, that could be very dangerous to the staff and the other inmates. So the body scanner has been okayed by the county, and the cost is about $184,000, but we feel that is well worth it. So those are just some of the highlights of what we're doing. And do you have any questions?
I have a question. I have a
yes.
question. Gail, I wanted to know, is the community center that you were talking about, is that going to be in Paw Paw or?
We wanted to have an east and a west branches, and then have hubs, different hubs, possibly establish youth programs that are already in place. It's still being organized. We don't even have our vision statement or a mission statement, but we welcome input. But we want to have an east side of the county and west side of the counties, plus the different hubs in the future.
Okay, and then one more question. Did you pass around a sheet for the training, if someone was interested for the suicide training? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Okay, thank you.
okay.
I have a question. Is there a location where people can get the brochure on aging? Like, are there pickup points anywhere in South Haven?
Well, I can order those and,
We can usually put them right out here in this hallway.
Okay, awesome.
okay, and then we can also get some to give to you to pass out to your constituents. So,
Thank you.
okay. You're welcome.
Thank you, Gail, appreciate it. All right, now we have a behind-the-meter generation presentation by Michigan Public Power Association. And good evening, thanks for coming in.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Appreciate you having me today. I do have a presentation prepared that's on the screen. I think it'll be best if we work through that. It is a presentation that I was able to give the BPU board 3 weeks ago today. That's why the date suggests August 28th. We know it's not the 28th of August today. My name is Steve Donkersloot. I'm here to represent the Michigan Public Power Agency. Little background on me. I've been with the MPPA for just under 3 years. I'm responsible for long-term structured transactions, so long-term asset ownership and related opportunities. Prior to joining MPPA, I was with the City of Lowell. I worked at Lowell Light and Power, municipal electric utility there for 11 years, most recently serving as their general manager. Born and raised in West Michigan, so very biased towards West Michigan. Today's conversation really will be in 3 parts, very much interconnected. Quick refresher on who MPPA is, your relationship to MPPA, so consider it like a MPPA 101. The specific opportunity, objective that we went into this year with and why, and then third, an actual project that we've been working on with the City of South Haven that's in the early innings, but we feel now is an appropriate time to have a conversation. MPPA, like you, we are not for profit, so we're believers in the locally controlled, locally operated, locally maintained business model. It's the customer side business model. South Haven is a member of MPPA. We are an extension of you. I think oftentimes that can be confused when I go to council or board meetings. They think I'm there to sell something. We work for you. South Haven is one of 22 board members of MPPA. So you have a seat at the MPPA boardroom. Bill has filled that seat for the last several years. We're sad to see him go here, but you are a member of MPPA, and we're very much aligned in our values. MPPA specifically, we are a joint action agency. We were created through Michigan legislation way back in the 70s. A joint action agency is really economies of scale platform that offers cost benefits and diversification benefits for our members. Joint action agencies exist throughout the country, formed largely in the 70s and 80s. All members of joint action agencies throughout the country are municipal electric utilities. Why is this? On average, municipal electric utilities are smaller than investor-owned utilities like your Consumers Energy, your DTE, AEP, et cetera. And because munis typically are smaller, it's just hard for them to compete investing in power generation. Way back in the 70s, early 80s, the lowest cost of power was coal in this country, and MPPA got its founding. Several members joined together. We invested in the Consumers Energy Campbell 3 coal facility in West Olive and the Bell River 1 and 2 coal plant in St. Clair County on the east side of the state. South Haven is not a member of those projects, but MPPA got its start like many others. It's just more efficient and cost effective for members to join together and take a piece of the pie, if you will. MPPA invests traditionally in utility scale types of projects. Over the last 10 years, we've done a lot of solar, wind. your utility scale projects, and it's just cost effective for our members to take a piece of that investment, and that allows them to compete in the power supply side of the business with investor-owned utilities who can make larger investments. As I said, MPPA was formed in the late 70s. Today, we have 22 members. We operate in both the PJM and MISO market. South Haven is one of our 4 PJM members. PJM is the RTO, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, but they are in a sliver of Southwest Michigan. The other 3 PJM members, Paw Paw, Niles, Sturgis. The 4 PJM members, including South Haven, just recently joined MPPA in the last handful of years. Before joining MPPA, you secured your power supply through a full or all requirements contract with AEP. It was to South Haven's utilities financial benefit to join MPPA, just being a not-for-profit, very similar values to you all. We are a project-based agency. That's an important thing to understand. We are not full or all requirements. We don't have the same blended rate for all 22 members. Each utility can choose what they would like to be part of or not part of. Ultimately, MPPA is charged with looking at each of our members' power supply portfolios and making recommendations. But a big part of the recommendations beyond just your own portfolio is understanding your community goals, objectives, values. So it's up to MPPA to try to understand those things, but don't always get everything right. Things can change. But that leads each member's power supply portfolio to look very different. We have members like Traverse City, Petoskey, Harbor Springs with very ambitious renewable goals. And they can pursue those because we are a project-based agency and we can pursue projects for them. We have other members that are much more focused on reliability and or economics. Not to say those other communities aren't. They've just put a greater emphasis on other things, power supply related. And then finally, we have 5 members who are associates but are not full members. MPPA in total, our members on average have been in operation more than 120 years. We have a 1.4 gigawatt peak load. What does that mean? The state of Michigan, Lower Peninsula, in the summertime is a peak load of 20 gigawatts, give or take. So munis on average in total are smaller relative to the DTE, Consumers Energy, AEPs. But MPPA does represent 85 to 90% of the municipal load. There are 40 municipals in the state. MPPA represents 22 of those 40, but those 22 are larger on average. And our members in total, just under 300,000 customers. What do we do for our members? It's changing, but we were founded on and will continue to do this. We invest in economies of scale opportunities and provide risk diversification benefits. We are your interface to PJM. Behind the scenes, there is a very intricate, detailed process in the market operations space, if you will, where on a day-ahead and real-time basis, we need to procure and bid power in the day-ahead and real-time markets. We perform all those functions. We settle your power for you, take care of all the billing and financing, and we also make recommendations for power supply decisions to South Haven. But as I said, the industry is changing, and because of that change that I'm going to talk about here in part 2, there's a real unique opportunity that we believe exists. We started educating and having conversations with our members, including South Haven, about this opportunity last year. Coming into this year, we were asked by our members for a strategic objective that looks at behind the meter resource opportunities. So that will be the punchline, but to ultimately understand why this strategic objective came about, why the opportunity is so exciting, I think it's important to understand the context so we have a holistic perspective. Power supply costs, you can break them down into 3 buckets. You have energy, Those are the electrons that we consume when we flip the light switch on. We have capacity or reliability. That's really just the generation that's installed. It may not be used all the time, but you need to have a certain amount of generation installed on the system so that when people do flip the light switch, that capacity is there for reliability purposes. And third, and at the center of today's conversation, is transmission. That's really the delivery of energy throughout the RTO, or in your case, the PJM footprint. In terms of a percentage of breakdown, transmission or energy is approximately 53% of the power supply cost for our 4 PJM members. That could change on a given month or a given year, but on average in 2022, 53% of your bill was energy. Just 12% was capacity, and then approximately a third, 35%, was transmission. Understanding transmission, a lot of words on this slide. A couple key points though. Regardless if MPPA was in the picture, your transmission bill would be what it's going to be. We simply pass through today the transmission bill that AEP bills us. If there was a different power supply provider serving South Haven, Wolverine, or AEP itself, you would have the same transmission cost. Why is that? There's 2 components: the rate that you pay for transmission and the amount, the quantity that you pay the rate on. That rate is a FERC-approved and regulated rate. It's not subject to market forces. There's a process that the transmission provider has to go through to get that rate approved, but that rate on a $1 per megawatt year basis is determined through the transmission providers. They call it Attachment O revenue requirement. And then you have your network service peak load. What is your peak during the annual peak of the entire system? It's a 1-hour determination. There's 8,760 hours in a year. What is South Haven's usage for that single hour during the entire system peak? You take that single hour, your peak, and multiply it by the rate to get your annual transmission bill for the next year. That's just trying to, we could get really in the weeds, but just trying to keep it very high level. The rate component of transmission has gone up significantly. Since 2008, that rate has gone from approximately $20,000 per megawatt per year to north of $120,000 per megawatt per year. A major component for calculating the rate is the investment in the transmission system. The transmission system largely wasn't invested in for a period of time. So transmission companies all over the country, it's not unique to just AEP and MISO, METC and ITCT and the UP, ATC, major capital investments. That's increased the rate. Not good for customers paying the transmission bill. You can see just over a 6-fold increase. If you look at the capital budget for the transmission provider over the next 5 years, what's forecasted, I believe the next 5 years, the investment in the system will be greater than the previous 10 to 15 years combined. So we don't foresee transmission rates going anywhere but up. In terms of the percentage of your power supply cost, you remember that first slide, energy capacity transmission, said that transmission's 35%. Back in 2009, transmission was only 8%. So you can see as that rate's grown, the percentage of your power supply cost coming from transmission has also grown. And that's what I'd like you to take away from this slide. There is good news though. The PJM tariff allows utilities to peak shave. What does it mean to peak shave? Basically run a generator in your community, and if that generator is running during that single hour peak, you do not have to pay transmission charges on the megawatts of generation that were being generated during that single hour. So when we talk about peak shaving, that's what we mean, running a generator to take what your peak was, X less, whatever you could generate. This does not exist in MISO. This is part of PJM's tariff. So the 18 MPPA MISO members do not have the ability to peak shave for transmission cost-saving purposes. You do. Sturgis, a fellow PJM member, has successfully peak shaved. They have diesel units that have been in their community for decades now. They have hydro that they've had in their community. And recently, MPPA helped the city of Sturgis negotiate a solar power purchase agreement. That solar project is not owned or operated by the community. They have the contracted power off of that resource, but it is located on their distribution system. And what we're going to talk about next is the actual experience Sturgis has benefited from those resources. This is real data. Sturgis gave us permission to use this. On the bottom x-axis, you see the year 2017 through 2022. The y-axis is the dollars that Sturgis paid per day in transmission charges. The green line is Sturgis's peak. So the number of megawatts that they were using during the single hour of that transmission peak over the entire year. You can see that in 2017, they were at 49, 45. Then they went down. You might say, why did they go down? Those 32 and 30 peaks took place during the winter season. PJM can flip between summer and winter peaking. It's primarily been summer the last 3 years, 21, 22, and we believe 23, but it can peak in the winter. In 2021, though, MPPA assisted Sturgis. We signed a contract with a third-party entity who forecasted when that peak would take place. You don't know when it's going to take place, but they were able to successfully dispatch the diesel generator. They were able to hit that hourly peak, and instead of paying transmission on 44.4 megawatts, in 2021, Sturgis had to pay transmission on 39 megawatts. That saved Sturgis just over $1,400 per day for that entire year. In 2022, their solar project came online. And ultimately, their solar project and their diesel project for that year saved them $5,400 in change per year. So instead of paying transmission on 45 megawatts, they had to pay transmission on 27. In theory, you could install generation to try to get all the way down to zero. There's some reasons you may not want to do that, and we can talk about those later. But point being, we have assisted a fellow PJM member that's part of MPPA in saving real money by pursuing behind-the-meter generation solutions. Last year, provided a lot of this education in more detail, a lot of conversations with our members, and we were asked by our members, well, let's do something about it. Rates are going to go up. We have this opportunity. The opportunity will not exist forever. There is a limit in the PJM tariff, where once there's a certain number of resources installed behind the meter, FERC would have to grant an increase to that limit. The higher the rate goes for AEP, logic would suggest more and more people are incentivized to do something. So it's just a matter of time from our perspective when there won't be any room for you to do something. So we came into this year with the understanding, we're not going to have steel on the ground. We're not going to have an asset up into commercial operation. We'd really like to spend time understanding community goals, objectives, building a financial model, surveilling the marketplace, what type of vendors are doing what, et cetera, and then go into next year, 2024, really zeroing in on a plan. And that was, by and large, our plan, and we spent the first quarter and into the second quarter doing just that. And again, the rationale for the objective, a lot of money to be saved. Right now, $126,000 per megawatt based on current year rates. That's expected to increase. But ultimately, MPPA was coming at this from an economic perspective. Fast forward to second quarter of this year. MPPA, primarily me and a couple other gentlemen who work with or on my team, with me or on my team, we were surveilling the marketplace. We became aware of a opportunity within the IRA for rural types of communities defined as 20,000 population or less. Ultimately, the opportunity was eligible, or it's a USDA opportunity called Powering Affordable Clean Energy Program. This opportunity is finite in nature, meaning there's a pot of money. Once that pot of money is gone, there's no more, and it's a first-come, first-served type of opportunity. MPPA talks with dozens and dozens of developers in the storage space, the solar space, wind, fuel cell, you name it. One developer, Soul America, that we've been talking to for a few years now, had strategically on their own taken out land lease option agreements in several MPPA communities on their own accord. It was just a strategic play that they made, not knowing what may or may not happen. And they approached MPPA about pursuing potential solar projects in these various communities. For full transparency, Petoskey, Seaboing, St. Louis, South Haven were the communities, and Paw Paw. We engaged Soul America to understand the opportunity. Ultimately, just through a lot of conversation with Soul America and a high-level preliminary conversation with your team here in South Haven, we identified a potential 4.5 megawatt solar project. We'll look at the location here in a little bit. That solar project, when we forecast how many megawatt hours, how much energy it would produce, 6% of your forecasted load, so it's not anything ridiculous, very modest in nature, and any long-term commitment that MPPA recommends, we would like it to be a smaller component of your power supply portfolio. Technology changes, the world changes, customer preferences change. We believe that we constantly want to layer in smaller transactions periodically over time so that eventually they're rolling on and rolling off. Ultimately, though, we ended up through Soul America. It wasn't MPPA, it wasn't South Haven, it wasn't any of our members. Soul America submitted a letter of interest to the USDA PACE program the day that that program opened. That submission was non-binding, no recourse, no obligation for MPPA or any of our members to continue on. It was more of, let's get our foot in the door. A little bit about Soul America. They're based out of Atlanta, Georgia. They are a small-scale provider. We call that DER, Distributed Energy Resource Provider. They install and pursue resources at the local distribution level. They've been around since 2009. They're actually in 15 states now. I talked with them earlier today. They've built, own, and or operate hundreds of megawatts, but their bread and butter is the small-scale project, and we've gotten very comfortable with them, and as part of their application to USDA, there was a lot of the prerequisite information about them, including creditworthiness, demonstrating that they can do what they say they're going to do, and I do have some exciting news coming up here later that George may or may not know about because we received some updates since we met 3 weeks ago. The project is just outside of the city limits, east of 196, north of M43. Again, this is a private piece of land that Soul America has a land lease option agreement for. Ultimately, there's a lot that would need to happen for this project to move forward, and I'll get into some of those next steps here in a minute. But just wanted to give you a perspective of where this project would be located if we continue to move forward. It would ultimately be connected to South Haven's distribution system. Why is that? Well, you can't peak shave if a resource isn't connected to your distribution system. So that's very important to understand. The opportunity itself, as I mentioned earlier, right-sized. We like that it's less than 10% of your load. We're looking at a potential long-term contract. Soul America would be the constructor, developer, owner, operator of this resource. The structure we're looking at right now is simply a contract structure for South Haven and all of our members. We like that it's renewable power. A lot of activity in the state legislature related to energy legislation. And we don't know what will happen, but I think the sense that MPPA as well as MMEA, the municipal organization that represents all 40 munis politically at the state level, we believe something will happen in the form of a new renewable portfolio standard. We believe it's wise to take advantage of opportunities where it exists. This helps diversify your portfolio. Currently, you're not contracted for any renewables today. We do buy RECs for you that demonstrate renewable status for the city of South Haven, but we don't have any contract or steel on the ground investments for you. And then finally, when we forecast the economic benefit for your utility and the customers you serve, both in the city limits and township, very economic. There will come a time where we'll share the economic results. Right now, we have indicative pricing from Soul America. That can change based on several things: EPC contractors, materials, labor, the actual cost to interconnect the project, but very attractive economically, so much so that MPPA could not contract for a utility-scale large project at a better price point than what we are seeing here today. And that defies all logic. Most of the time, I mean, almost every time until now, your large-scale project is going to be more economic. Next steps, wait for the USDA feedback. That was true 3 weeks ago. Soul America did get extremely exciting news at the end of August that they were invited to the next round to submit a formal application. Do not have to submit a formal application. Obviously, they would only want to submit a formal application if the members behind the ultimate contracts are interested, South Haven being one. You're not tied to any other member, so your decision doesn't impact Paw Paw or Petoskey or anybody else, and theirs won't impact you. Decision doesn't have to be made today. We have several months of due diligence that needs to be performed. Today is just for education and awareness. So we have received that good news, and the intention of USDA is to work with Soul America and the members. So we've kind of reached this threshold that we're not going to be successful unless we choose not to proceed or we don't properly fill out and do the things we need to do as part of a formal application. So in order to move forward, ultimately, we need to have a negotiated power purchase agreement. MPPA has negotiated 7 solar and wind power purchase agreements in the last several years. We have great expertise here. Members are looking to MPPA to assist in this space. Also, the project has to interconnect to your distribution system. GRP Engineering, your engineering consultant, is already doing some preliminary work in this space. Both of these things would have to be negotiated, not executed by the time of formal submission. Obviously, we want your feedback. We want the feedback of the township. Soul America is coming up next week. We are going to meet in person, on site, in all the communities that I mentioned. Purpose of that is just to talk zoning, permitting, ordinances, as well as put eyes on the site, walk the site, and really just start having conversations. So we need that feedback. And then longer term, even beyond this solar project, your peak load is just under 40 megawatts in the summer. I think it's 37, 38 and change with the reserve margin requirement. This project being 4.5 megawatts is just one tool in the ultimate tool bag that we could utilize. So regardless of what does or doesn't happen with the solar project, we think that more projects such as storage or something thermal, depending on your community's appetite, could be pursued. That's what I have today. Hit on a lot. I imagine there's some questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is what I've always learned about South Haven, is that we're not like other communities. Because we're a tourist town largely, our population peaks in 3 or 4 months, especially July. So we have to have an infrastructure way beyond what we really need just for those couple of months. So with solar panel and this whole thing about peak, wouldn't this really be to our advantage? Because we could take this during our peak. It may not have as much impact because we're using so much, but during the rest of the year, when the year-round residents are here and they're hit with these large utility bills, this 10%, if I got your numbers right, could really be a large portion of their electric bills, more than the average community that's a straight line usage. Do I have that right?
You do. That 6% of your load is an annualized number. Solar produces more in the summer, as you might imagine, produces less in the winter, and your load is greater than the summer. We did look at this by month and actually got down to the on and off peak hourly level. I don't have those statistics by memory. It doesn't violate any risk management principles or concerns we have, but you are right. You do peak in the summer, your influx of population, and power typically does cost more during those summer months. So by having this in your portfolio, instead of having to buy power off the grid in the real time or day ahead market or contract for power that is going to be more expensive, this would save you money on the energy side of the business, not just transmission. So you're correct.
Great.
This is good stuff. We've been talking about renewables for a while, so I view this as just one of those many steps. So I just say keep going. Any other questions? Otherwise,
No, sounds exciting.
sounds exciting. So yeah.
Appreciate you having me.
Look forward to seeing you back for updates and a vote if needed. So thank you very much for coming. All right, that takes us to the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. Any questions, comments? Nothing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is approved. Next, we are at the time for public comment for items on the agenda, excluding, well, there's anything on the agenda because we don't have public hearings. So if there's anything you'd like to discuss that's on the agenda tonight, come on up. You'll have up to 5 minutes. State your name, state your address, and we'll give you 5 minutes. And good evening, everybody. Evening, Dan.
Thanks, Scott. Dan Agnello, 964 Everett Parkway. I'm here to document the letter that Sue Hale had published, her and her brother Jim, in the Tribune about the Hales Center Street project. And she had asked in her email to all of you to get it put in public record, but the only way you're going to get this public record is if you go to FOIA, because none of the emails sent to any of you, gets in the meeting minutes. So I want to document that. And I told her I would, and she was very upset about what happened to Planning Commission meeting. She was going to speak, but after she saw which way it was going to go, where only one person was against the project, she walked out and didn't comment. So I will read her letter. It was in last Sunday's Tribune. The title of it is called Proposed Hale Block Development Overblown. To the editor, as the former owners of the Hale Block property in question for well over 100 years, we are heartsick to see a development being considered that is so overblown, out of character, and lacking in aesthetics as the plan that was discussed at the Planning Commission meeting on September 7th. The organization, Main Street America, encourages communities to capitalize on their historic strengths. The most charming small-town, downtown areas in our country have held on to or recreated the historic architecture and distinct character. The characteristics that make a small town attractive to visitors and residents alike are walkability, access to nature, and an authenticity that is not available in larger urban centers. Forward-looking towns are moving away from overbuilding and focusing on renovations and restoration, as well as making sure that new projects are in keeping with existing structures. When Mr. Lockard bought the property from us 4 years ago and restored the 3-story building on the corner of Center and Quaker Streets, we had high hopes that the future development would be in keeping with this masterful renovation. Sadly, that seems not to be the case. The height of the proposed project will cut off natural light and loom over the central four corners. If permission and variances are given for this project, what is to keep the same thing from happening on the building for N&R department store, which is going to close very soon? The character of our downtown will be forever changed. There is not a planning commission or city council from St. Joe to Charlevoix that would allow a development of such size and scope at the very heart of their downtown. Despite the developers' assertions that this project will benefit the town in a number of ways, the design choices are oversized, overpowering, aesthetically dated, and certainly out of character for South Haven. It is our hope that the Planning Commission and in turn, the City Council will do the right thing for the town and the unique history we all share. Vote against allowing this project to move forward as it is presented right now. I would also like to indicate that there were some comments by some owners downtown. And one owner said, oh, well, Holland has taller buildings. Well, no, not in the downtown district. On 5th and 6th Streets, they have the character of the buildings that they have now. Out on 8th Street, over by the Farmers Market toward the Civic Center, then they have a few other taller buildings. But the core of the core of the downtown is maintained the way it is. And, you know, we got to look at the Planning Commission. I'm not sure what's going on with the Planning Commission. There's only one person that was against this project as it's shown. I don't think anybody's against the project, but they're pushing this thing as if it's, you know, the biggest thing since sliced bread, okay? We want this, we need this, but we don't need a 5-story building. And you know, the ZBA helped out when Fifth Third Bank wanted to build a taller building. They went to ZBA, and they got shot down because it doesn't meet the ordinance of a 4-story building. It's only 3.5 stories, okay? But this project is going through as a PUD. If it goes through, City Council approves it, there is no appeal to the project whatsoever because it's a PUD. There's no reason this project has to be a PUD, okay? We're not benefiting by anything being a PUD except for the exemption of the height and whatever small items they're trying to obtain. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. All right, anybody else? Again, this is for all items, including, I think there's a farmer's market item, a few other things, so. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Becky Schemenauer. I'm with Schemenauer Farms, and I live in Hartford. I have been coming to the farmer's market since almost the beginning. My husband came a couple of years from the very beginning, and then I started coming. At this time, other than Blair Farms, I am the oldest person there that's been there the longest. I have seen every single market manager that has come to the market, from Claudia all the way now up to now, and having Jean do it for the company. I have seen good managers. I have seen bad managers. I have seen unorganized managers. I have seen organized managers. And what I would like to share is that the way the market is run now does not even compare to the way it was when I first started. It was good when I first started, but we only had like a handful of vendors that came. And so I've seen it grow from there then to about 7 or 8 vendors to now what it is today. What I have to share is that the organization, the way it's run, the listening to suggestions, to comments, has come very far in the way it is. Jean particularly takes into consideration any suggestions that I make to make it better. She weighs it. Sometimes she takes my advice. Sometimes she doesn't. But she listens and she's cooperative with me. Also, the tourists that come through. I have had people come from New York, Arizona, California, Cincinnati, Kentucky. Over and over and over I hear, this is the best market I have ever been to. Just this past Saturday, a couple came through from Indiana, and he said, you know, the diversity of the things that this market has does not compare to any of the markets that we have gone to around where we live in Indiana. And that is a tribute to Jean and how she organizes and how she considers and how she approves the people and the applications of the people that want to come to the market. She has that so that it's spread out, so the different areas, people can go and they find stuff. And over and over and over, I hear how much they love our market. So I would love to see it continue the way it is, the way it's being managed, because of the fairness, because of the diversity, and because of the way that it is being handled. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Was there anybody else? And if we could just hold the applause, that'll be fantastic. Give me a thumbs up. That'll speed us up. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for giving us a chance to speak. I'm Darlene Stump with Chicken Scratch Farm and Bakery. I've been with South Haven Market since 2000 when we were on Phoenix Street, and there was maybe 6 of us in the market. To see it where it's at now is amazing. All I want to say is to reiterate what Becky said. Jeannie cares about the market, she cares about South Haven, and she cares about us. We've had many market managers over the years. No one's cared about us as much as Jeannie has. And she cares if we make business or not, and if we sell things. Her best interest is for the market and the town. And we have several customers from out of state that come and say that. This is the best market. We have so many different varieties of things, and she does great separating everybody out that has similar items. So I really hope that you would consider to keep the management the way it is, and we want Jeannie to stay with us.
Will do. Thanks for your comments.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Was there anybody else?
Good evening, folks.
Evening.
My name's Doc Horton. Diversity, I'll give you a little bit of it. I'm from Bloomingdale, grew up there, and attended the University of Michigan Dental School, graduated in 1973, practiced 6 years, decided that I'd try to find an honest way to make a living. Hope there's no dentists in there. Became a professional auctioneer. Spent my life on the road, but I did do a lot of work locally in this town. I was a good friend of Jack Combs, the good old barber here. I did a lot of work for Citizens Bank, Jerry Glebinski, and I'm the auction company that sold all of the boat slips at River Noir and a portion of Black River for the United States Bankruptcy Court. So I've been familiar with the area. In my travels, I had a sale in Avondale, Louisiana. I had to go down there once a year to straighten out all the releases with Enron. So the first time I went down, I went to the seafood market in the French Quarter. Met a Cajun. My life was never the same. Packed him up, brought him north, and that's how my product started. I'm the owner of Doc's Cajun Sausage, very unique product that's been around for 24 years. That's the reason that I ended up in the business. It was a part-time thing for me, and I built a business for him, basically. I went on with my business. We continue to do food shows, Taste of Kalamazoo, Wine and Harvest. We're also featured all the way from Daytona Beach for the Bike Week, Biketoberfest, Iron Horse Saloon, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and in addition to Blessing of the Bikes, all of the local events, and the product continued and continued to sell itself. It is locally sourced, the farmers and producers. I also have a pickle line, which is produced in Lawrence, Michigan. They're all local and locally sourced. The product is very unique. I stopped for a period of about 5 years because I wasn't sure if I could do it physically. I decided to make the product, package it, freeze it, and then I had to make up my mind, where will I go with it? Texas Corners wanted me extremely bad over there, but I knew the potential of South Haven. I made the decision. I came and talked to Brad. Brad accepted me with open arms. I wanted to share with you, I can't thank you enough for my opportunity to be a part of your market. It's wonderful. I have met people from, like Becky said, all over the United States. This product is really grabbed a hold in the Illinois, northern Indiana, western Ohio. I have a repeat business my 3rd year, and if it wasn't for that market and the decision that I made to come to South Haven, I would have made a big mistake. Thank you very much for this market, and may it continue the way it is. Gene and Brad both are super people to work with. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for your comments. Good evening.
I'm Lisa Croupiers, 561 Indiana Avenue. Regarding the farmers market, my question is, why can't the city just keep the professional service agreement or contract with Laser for 1 year that was indicated? Considering the issues that have been revealed and that city staff was aware of these issues prior to when the turned-away vendors spoke up here at City Council recently, and the public was not aware, a year PSA or contract seems reasonable. That gives the situation an opportunity to be evaluated to make sure operation is professional, appropriate, and as it should be. There should be no hurry to create a 5-year contract without knowing that operations have improved and are meeting everyone's expectations and needs. Regarding the Hale project, we are fortunate to have Locker and Locker's involvement in this because they're invested in our community and should want what's best for all of us. I hope you all read Sue and Jim Hale's communications to the city staff and government and the letter to the editor that was in yesterday's paper. I support and advocate everything written by them regarding the building height and the character. I also echo what the Hales wrote regarding the masterful renovation of the completed building at the corner of Quaker and Center by Locker and Locker. Why can't that theme be continued with this new project? Please consider this. What the Hales say about the Main Street America should guide this decision and all South Haven decisions regarding all construction and improvements, including homes. We have a very unique town here at South Haven and should be respecting and honoring that. We do not have to be like other beach towns along Lake Michigan, nor should we be. The splash pad, social district, now 2 tall buildings like Holland, should not be what guides our direction. Again, residents would be helpful partners to guide our forward momentum. We chose to live here based on what we saw and liked here at South Haven. There is a way to go forward without allowing taller buildings and trying to keep up with the Joneses and the other beach towns. And I predict we will be fine with tourism, because that's what seems to be our priority here. As I said at Planning Commission, if anyone can fix this Hale project and make it right, it's Locker and Locker. Please don't allow this project to progress as it's been presented up to now. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Hi, I'm Mary Lynn Boogie, 70 Gabriel Drive. I think Lisa just spoke very well and reflects a lot of my thoughts. But I'd like to just give you a couple of other ways of looking at this. I too am very pleased with how the historic Hale department store was renovated, but I do have very deep concerns regarding what's presented. It does not architecturally blend in at all with our community. It doesn't even reflect it. You can go modern, but you can also pick up the essence of what's there, and it lacks that. When a PUD is used, it's supposed to give benefit to the community. In other words, it's supposed to allow flexibility in design and so on and so forth in order to preserve particularly natural resources, historic things. This doesn't do either one of them. Of course, no building downtown is going to preserve natural resources because the building was already there, so we're replacing buildings. So that is one of the reasons why a PUD becomes questionable downtown. Do we really need to use it, or can we just develop under what the existing standards are. We certainly can. And unless, I think that would be the best way to look at it. What are we gaining from this? We're gaining buildings downtown. We're getting some housing. However, it's not really housing for people in our community when you look at the size of the apartments. We're not doing what we've been looking for, workforce housing. I really doubt how much of this will go to workforce housing based on the size of the few apartments that are in this development. There's only 6. The other ones are purchased condos. I wonder how many workers from downtown will actually be living in that building. Because to make enough rent on the size of those buildings, on those apartments, there'll be substantial rent. I have no objection to having apartments of that size, except for when you're making one of your priorities workforce housing, this doesn't happen. So we're not benefiting from one of our goals by having this kind of housing. I wonder how many of them will be second homes, since it's not eligible to be short-term rentals, and I also question that. Seems to me downtown would be a great place to have short-term rentals, so you're not putting short-term rentals in residential areas. But that's another question. However, what else are we gaining from this? Let me point out to you that a parking space, a typical parking space, is 10 by 20. That's 200 square feet. What are we gaining from this? We're gaining 2 restrooms. What is the total square footage of those 2 restrooms? 250 square feet. That's a little over 1 parking space that we're gaining from this. What is the lockers gaining from this? Well, instead of being 45 feet high, it's 62 feet high, so they're gaining 17 feet. Instead of 3.5 stories, they're gaining 5 stories. That's 1.5 stories he's gaining. So for our 250 square feet of restrooms, how many square feet is he gaining? Close to 40,000 square feet of saleable condos and rental apartments. Consider that when you're looking at this, please.
Thank you. Was there anybody else? Any items? Good evening.
Good evening. Mike Campbell, 216 Erie Street. I want to make comments on agenda items 9E, 11, and 15. 9E is about the resolution for an early voting center in Hartford. I simply have a question. I don't oppose it. I simply have a question to find out of curiosity why Hartford was chosen in Van Buren County versus Paw Paw, the county seat, South Haven, the largest city. Hartford actually is in a remote corner of the county, so it actually is going to be harder for people to get there. So if you decide to ask that question during session, that's fine. Otherwise, Megan knows my email. She can respond.
When you're done, she'll answer it. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, answer it. Go ahead.
No, we don't want to take his time.
That's true. Go ahead. Then she'll answer at the end.
Okay. Farmers Market. I don't have any issue to speak about concerning, what's already been said about the management company. My concern is something more logistical, and that is the issue that surrounds the whole subject of dogs. I see the sign, the sandwich board that says no dogs, but without fail, I see dogs. I know enforcement is a problem. Enforcement's always a problem with any rule. I read in the materials from the survey that some others felt dogs were a problem. Also that there's apparently a county requirement that there's more signage needed for people that are serving food at the market. So that creates an additional layer of difficulty. I mean, frankly, you're probably thinking about going up to Sukasa's food truck, and that's where our sign is going to have to be. But what if I went to another vendor and bought carrots and I just took a carrot out? I mean, you can interpret it that way as well. So in essence, everyone's going to have another sign. Enforcement's an issue, and people are the problem as well, because today, dogs are the new children, grandchildren, and best friend. I mean, seriously. They're also everyone's new guide dog or special purpose dog. I feel left out. I don't need one. And there's no way to exclude these people. You can't challenge them for having their dog. So enforcement's an issue. So I would say, you know, unless there's an absolute requirement, just take the sign down. That way people who don't like dogs or are afraid of dogs will just not go into the farmer's market. And to be perfectly honest, based on what I see at the farmer's market and the number of people, I think dogs are at risk as well, getting stepped on by people who are walking through the market. So anyway, I hope there's a discussion about dogs and how to resolve it by either having a requirement and enforcing it or just giving up and taking away the signs. The third is about the Hale project. I am not going to talk about the merits, if it's pretty, if it's too high. What I'm asking this council to do is to do something that the Planning Commission started but didn't do. And that is, there was a comment and question from Commissioner Neese about if we do this and we allow for the height to go up to 72 feet, what keeps another PUD from doing the same thing? The city attorney wasn't there. The assistant city manager said, oh, we've had several conversations with the city attorney, and he says there's no issue, there's no obligation for you to do this again with another PUD. And then they also talked about the difference between a PUD and a variance to distinguish from the consumer's credit situation. I would ask this council to seriously consider asking staff to obtain a legal opinion on the issue so that you have it as documentation before you decide your decision, whether it's on October 16th or another day later. Simply have that so you have evidence and document it in the minutes that you have evidence that for the next developer, you can show them. We don't have to give you the height variance because we have a legal opinion saying so. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
Do you want Megan to?
Oh, yeah,
field
sorry.
the
Yeah, sorry.
9E?
Thank you.
With the 9 days of early voting, there's a lot of requirements for the building to be locked, under surveillance, all that kind of thing. So we were looking for a unique property that the county already owned, as we're going to be in a countywide agreement with them. And with the newly vacated health district building, that's going to be able to just easily be transitioned into an early voting center, so.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, was there anybody else? Items on the agenda? Good evening.
Hi, my name is Amber. I live on 68th Street in South Haven. I've been a vendor at the South Haven Market for 2 years. I'm also a vendor in Portage and every Sunday without fail for the last three years. I'm always asked by all of my customers, why don't you come to Kalamazoo on Saturdays, because then we wouldn't have to come over here to get you on Sundays. And I always tell them, no, I'm in South Haven on Saturdays because I have customers that love me there. So I do love South Haven on Saturdays because I'm from South Haven. I've lived here most of my life. You know, I really love the market. As far as the dogs, that is, you know, customers sneak them in. We have signs up, people don't listen. People say, well, I'm just gonna hold my dog closer, you know, so it is an issue. But one issue that we do have with the market is under no fault of our manager. It's a kind of a complaint for the city. We get shoved over onto the side road by the Wolverine Hardware Store for Blueberry Fest and the car show. It is very dangerous. People trip, you know, all the time because it's not safe. It's dirty, it gets flooded. It's very dangerous, you know. People are gonna get hurt. People are gonna get hurt bad. They trip all day long. It used to not be like that. The last 2 years have been awful, so, but that's not due to our manager. She's great, she's wonderful. We work with her if we can't be there for a day. She finds fill-ins. she knows, you know, everybody. So she's great. She really cares about us and the market and making sure the spots are filled, so.
That's good.
It's a great market, so have a great night.
We appreciate your comments. Thank you. Thanks for coming out, sticking around. Okay, was there anybody else? Oh, we got a couple.
Barb Brock, 109th Avenue, South Haven. Just a couple of things, because they've hit on most of them. We have been coming as a farm to the farmer's market since almost its beginning, starting with my son doing it as a summer job. The amount it has grown, and I know there are always vendors that have to be turned down. And I appreciate the fact that there's some loyalty by our management to the vendors that have been here. So that's one thing. But I also would like to just commend the city in their work with Brad and Jeannie. In the previous years, there's been a lot of issue with the cleanliness of this beautiful pavilion that was built by a farmer for the farmers to use for this purpose. And it's through the work of Brad and his management and Jean that our concerns about the trash barrels, not enough of them, being too full, garbage left from visitors previous there the week before, that has become a very clean site for the public now, and for our visitors, it makes it even a more attractive market. Our farm goes to the Holland Farmers Market also, and the difference from what the customers see is primarily our diversity and the things that we offer, even though the Holland Market is a much larger area market. We are able to compact so much in the space the city allows us to use, and it makes it a very welcoming place for people to come to a different atmosphere. And I just can't say the pavilion itself is just a beautiful place for this to happen. It is a shame with Blueberry Festival, I'll get my plug in with that. Not so much we have to be moved away, I understand, but the fact that this year there was a whole nother market under there that was labeled the Blueberry Central Farm Market. And that was kind of a shame. I grow blueberries. I was not invited or asked to be under there, which, whatever, I'm fine where I'm at, but the point of it is, don't label that as a whole nother farmer's market that feels to be competition to us, that we've graciously given up that space that we have paid for that to be used as a more public place for that one weekend. And then in respect to our management, Brad and Jean, not only are they the managers of the market, but Brad's family shops. They're there every single weekend. Jeannie brings people around to show them the different vendors and what they offer that are new. Maybe they stop to get the tokens from her. She walks them around and shows them the different things that are available to them. So I would support your support in another, extending the contract and for a 5-year. I don't know how there's going to be a better option than what we have right now. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Good evening. Good evening.
Buenas noches. Good evening. I'm Edgar, in case you don't know, Edgar Suarez from Su Casa. Excuse me. So one of the things I have to say is, and we're headed on the spot, and then from the market standpoint, that we've been there for a long time, some of us, but to get pushed around, and then there comes another market during the Blueberry Festival, I think that was just, there's a coffee place. There's a coffee place now in the Blueberry Festival. There's a fruit stand. There's a fruit stand in the Blueberry Festival now. The same thing happened to the car show. There were certain vendors and stuff, and we get kicked out into the side road that at the beginning, if the city was going to kick us out 2 years ago or whatever, they put us on a side street. I understand with the park, which was beautiful. Honestly, when we had that balance of crafts in the park place, in the marketplace, farmer's market, in the pavilion, it was awesome. It was really beautiful, a lot of families. That's what started attracting, at least to me, a lot more foot traffic. little young girls would get little crafts, little boys and stuff, and there was also, I think during that time, there was some interaction with little children. The school bus or some bus from the school used to go there, just to be there, hand out meals, hand out things, activities to bring families to the market, to interact families to the market, because that's what the market is all about. That's why the market has grown over the years, is because families have gotten involved. Hey, we are getting involved, getting on Saturdays, waking up as we're going to the market because it's a nice market like many vendor has taken. Many vendors every morning, waking up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, whatsoever, packing their little things, getting in little whatever they can to create this atmosphere for South Haven. For South Haven, before we didn't have none of this. We had none of this kind of attraction for people to come into town. So now we have it. But the biggest thing that I have is, why do we have to get moved out of the market when the farmer created for a farmer's market, and yet have, that you guys authorize, a blueberry festival come in and have their own market? That to me was just undercutting all of us producing our products. Some of us produce fresh products to bring to that market and to get undercut by this other market that none of us knew about it, I don't believe, that there was going to be another market inside our market, and we get pushed out of our market. And like I said, the first year we went out there, I do not know if you guys coordinated with our managers for the market, but nobody knew what to do. In front of the Wolverine, well, now it's Ace Hardware, there's that driveway that to go out. Well, that day, there was almost people getting run over because there was not that driveway getting out. It was not cut off to tell people, no, you cannot drive in there, you cannot drive out. And also understand, when you guys put us across the street and the side street, there's people walking back and forth on that street. We have nobody, no police or whatsoever, or barriers or blockades to block that. So there's people driving, there's people walking. There's a congestion of cars all the time, congestion of traffic, and then it's not possible for families to walk with their kids, to walk and all that, because they have to and all this. So anyways, I just want you guys to understand, if you can, please, if you're going to move us, if you're going to do something, communication is the key to life. And not just that, but if you can please consider that the farmers market has been a very nice staple for at least since 2010. That I've known it, it's really taken off and grown. So, that's all I have to say. Muchas gracias. Buenas noches.
Bueno, gracias. So before he goes, just as the next person comes up, maybe we can just put it on our to-do list to look at anytime there's a movement, better locations, and obviously this issue with the dueling markets, I don't think was by any means an intention of, so we could just go through that at a later date. So we appreciate your feedback, obviously, so.
Hello,
Good evening.
I'm Robin Canibus. I'm one of the vendors, Grapevine Nursery, one of the only that's been there for about as long as the market's been, pretty much. And I just got a few things, like I said, to bring up the idea of being moved over to, I cannot unload possibly, I don't even do the market and Blueberry or the car show. I used to, but because of the road, I can't unload my stuff and then pull my trailer wherever I can go. There were about 3 years ago, we were moved for the car show. We were moved over the probably the west end of the parking lot, and that was it worked out very well. It was maybe harder to get all the vendors there, but we were able to move right there where people could park and still go to both places, car show and and it's all contained. So it's something to maybe consider. I also wanted just to say that I am happy with the management, how they run the market now. this year has been my best year. It just keeps growing. And so, you know, more and more people. I've got one customer, they come from St. Joe. They don't go to St. Joe Market, they go to South Haven, so makes it nice. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening,
Good
ladies and
evening.
gentlemen. As you can tell, most of us here are from the farmer's market, as well as I am. I'm going to address the moving us. You know, I'm sitting back there listening to all these comments, and I'm referencing sports. I'm thinking of sports. This farmer's market where we're at under that pavilion, we are the A team. We're the ones that bring so much traffic to this town. Twice a year, we get moved over there. That would be like being the star quarterback, and when the Super Bowl comes, you put him on the bench. It's just not fair. We're, like was said, we're there 6 in the morning till the afternoon, entertaining these people. Like I said, bringing life to this community, and we get pushed over there. I think it needs to be considered by you guys to let us keep that. That pavilion was built by a farmer for the farmer's market. So why should we be the ones that get pushed out? Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Was there anybody else? Hey, Lindsay.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for your time. My name is Lindy DeVries, and I live 710 Sunset. I'm a lifelong South Haven resident, and I've been at the farmer's market for 10 years now. And I've seen it poorly managed, and I've seen it managed very well. And I would say right now, Brad and Jean have been doing a fantastic job. It's been improving every year, and I really don't see any reason why they shouldn't get a 5-year contract, because they're working with us to make it better every year. Along with the moving us over near Wolverine and on the street, I would agree that that's also not safe. There's lots of families that cross back and forth across the street. And there was also a competing market this year, and I pretty much talked to almost every vendor, and every vendor agreed that it was not fair or safe to the public nor the vendors. And other than that, I want to say that thank you to Brad and Jean for all they've done, and thank you for your time.
Very good. Thanks for your comments. Anybody else?
Mary Hasley, 736 North Shore Drive. I'll touch on a few items. So first, I did have some questions about the finance, and I would ask that some of those at least be clarified, especially the $64K expense for Fishbeck. Regarding the farmer's market, you've heard a lot today. You also heard a lot in August. And being someone who needs to balance things, I would encourage you to balance things. In August, you voted for a 1-year contract, so there's not a rush to vote on a revised contract. And in reviewing the contract, I had identified some things, like specifically naming people, and will that require amendment if those people change jobs and no longer can have that position. And one concern that was raised, and I believe not just by people who spoke in August, but through the responses, which provided both sides of the story. And I'm a both sides of the story, and you need to listen to everybody. And I'm not pointing any fingers, I'm just saying what the facts are, just what the facts are. And one issue that was raised and specifically not addressed in the contract is having the management person be there during setup. So that would be something, I think there are some actual technical legal issues to address with the contract as written. I think that there's some things that didn't have a lot of foresight that could be avoided having to amend the contract, and we already have a 1-year contract. So just try and take into consideration what was said in August. I believe you were also contacted by some people who could not be here, who were here in August. And try and balance. With regard to Item 13, the DPW locker room, I find it quite ironic that it's on the agenda for an update the same time you're getting the DEI, because the DPW agenda packet, it concerns a locker room for the women who have not had one when the men have. So I certainly hope that you make that a priority. I know I see it's getting moved to a much longer CIP, but I think we need some equity for the DPW workers. Regarding the DEI and diversity, I was very pleased to see some of the slides and the discussions from the consultant with regard to appointment to boards. So Mayor Smith, you know that that this is kind of one of my key factors, is ensuring boards are fair representation. In fact, the Michigan Planning Enabling Act requires it. And some of the boards have female applicants who have been passed over for male applicants. And I believe that there's more openings, and I certainly hope that a more diverse is, backgrounds and what you bring to it. And right now, I think there's some lacking diversity, and some qualified candidates should be given more consideration for that. And I certainly hope that that will happen through doing the fiduciary duty to appoint people who will bring different perspectives. Because as we've heard, City Commissioner Planning Commissioner Neese had made some points. I know other commissioners had made some points with the project that's coming before you to set for a public hearing. And I think we do need to look at all considerations and listen to opinions. I have utmost respect for Locker and Locker. I know that they're a valuable family and do a lot of great for this community, and I hope we can find a path forward. Thank you.
Thanks for comments. Anybody else before we wrap this up? Going once, going twice. Okay, done. Okay. Consent agenda items A through F.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda items A through F.
Second.
Motion second to approve consent agenda items A through F. Any questions, discussions, comments? Otherwise, this is a roll call vote. Nothing. Roll call.
Arnold?
Yes.
Onuki?
Yes.
Reeser?
Yes.
Schlack?
Yes.
Sleeper?
Yes.
Wilkins?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That takes us to new business. City Council will be asked to consider approval of the following special event applications. First, we have special, I'll just take them as a group if the group is willing. Special event application 2023-40, which is the Blueberry Craft Fair 2024, to be held August the 9th to the 11th. 2024 to be held in Stanley Johnston Park. Next, we have special event application 2023-41, All Crafts Fair 2024, to be held August the 30th to September 1st, 2024, to be held in Stanley Johnston Park. And next, we have special event application 2023-42, Boo Bash 2023, to be held on October the 28th, 2023, from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. throughout the downtown.
I make a motion to approve special event application 2023-40, special event application 2023-41, special event application 2023-42, as they were read by the mayor.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. I know we have some folks here that, are you here to chat about that? So we can.
Well, thank you, Mayor. We have 2 returning events and then 1 new event. We have the Blueberry Craft Fair, which occurs in Stanley Johnston Park, as well as the All Crafts Fair in Stanley Johnston Park. As you know, those dates were read out as part of the motion. These are both returning events as part of the Chamber of Commerce's a slate of events for the year. The Boo Bash is something new that's being proposed by the Visitors Bureau, and this would be 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., and they'd like to have a costume pet parade, candy from participating merchants, a blown glass demonstration, live music and DJ, and the Headless Horseman to ride around town. So this is a nice little event in the downtown in October.
Sounds good. Would anybody like to share what the events are that are here? Come and share. I mean, if you want to, you stood here for an hour and a half. You might as well share something. Just saying.
Your turn.
Take a minute.
Thank you. First of all, both events have been long-standing. They are wonderful events. They bring in a lot of people for a weekend stay, or they come for the week. both All Crafts Fair, which is Labor Day weekend, and Blueberry Festival Craft Fair. And we have about 150-plus vendors that are authentic juried crafters for each show. And again, they stay, they eat, they camp, they stay in our lodging, and they shop. Amazingly, they're here to sell items, but they also shop. So thank you for approving this so many years. All Crafts, I think, is in its 39th year, and Blueberry 37 or so. Don't quote me on those dates, but long-standing events.
Well, thank you for organizing. It's a lot of work. It brings people, as you mentioned, and it's fun for locals and guests alike. So it's for everybody. So thank you for all of your work on all of them.
And we
So-
always appreciate that you get it on the agenda so early.
So early, yeah. We're like, so good. All right. Do you mind? Yep. You're
That's
fine.
okay. It's new.
You're
That
good.
one's new.
It's new. You're good.
I don't have anything.
And it sounds very fun.
I don't have anything to add, but I would like to say, as long as I have this opportunity, is that for Kate and Megan Griffin, anytime that I need them for something, they're always incredibly responsive. As you know, these things take a lot of planning, and it doesn't always go really well. So just for things that have happened in the past, Mayor Smith, you've always been great about responding and helping out with things and being my person who's doing the introductions. But Levi Griffin, Megan, Kate, Michelle at the event coordinator, Quentin, Jared, Chris, they've all saved my backside several times, and I'm very grateful for that. Along with the fire and the police, they always are great at working with us too.
And we appreciate you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
all the work you and Jen are doing. So
Thank you.
thank you. All right. Great events. Any other questions, comments of the group? If not, we have a motion and a second to approve special events 2023-40, 41, and 42. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. They are all approved. Thank you again. Let's take item 11 and then take a break. How's that sound? Item 11 is the city council is going to be asked to take the following actions. We're going to get an update on the farmers market. And then after that, we'll look at the amendment to the farm market contract. So Kate, you want to start? Got Brad out here. I can get this wrapped up.
Thank you, Mayor. So in August 7th was our regular meeting. We did bring a farm market, not only in the special event, but we did bring a contract. We did hear some comments from some past vendors as well as some concerns stated, just concerning about the farm market management, the operation there. And council did agree to a one-year agreement instead of the 5-year agreement that was being proposed. Council did also approve the 5-year special event for the farm market. We took the suggestions, or what you heard from council is that they'd like to see a vendor survey, as well as look to, I believe Councilmember Onuki gave us a suggestion about talking to the Saugatuck Farm Market Manager and learning more about what they do and seeing what we can incorporate to address some of the concerns that were raised. Sue Brock is here. She is our DDA director. Also, Brad Adamson from Laser are both here tonight if you have any questions. But I wanted to kind of summarize what we've learned and why this is being brought back to you. One, we did conduct a farm market vendor survey. We did do this online, and this was emailed out to all the email addresses that we had for the farm market. Also, we did walk around with paper copies because we do understand that some people just don't do that online technology thing. So we did have paper surveys. Both of them were given to the vendors to conduct the survey anonymously. So it came in anonymously, and if they did the paper survey, we gave them an envelope so they could return it anonymous to us. Didn't say like, hey, turn it back into me. I know what you said. So we got those back, and we did include those surveys in here. And what I did see a lot of information on there was that they had concerns about general operation, but not so much as the management. And we did hear some in there about ways to improve management, ways to improve the market overall. But what I am seeing is that a number of the vendors are very happy with Gene and Brad's management of the market. Moreover, we talked with the Saugatuck Farm Market Manager, and she gave us some good ideas as to how to better incorporate a grievance procedure. And that was something we had heard on August 7th as to, if I have a grievance, what is the process to go through? So we have memorialized that. Basically, we've taken the Saugatuck grievance procedure and adopted that in this a new contract, as well as that can be adopted in the handbook. Let me think what else we have here. We also heard about the dogs. We did contact the Van Buren County Health Department and understand what their policy is, as there's food there, so we have to follow the Van Buren County Health Department. I understand the comment tonight about, well, if you just can't control dogs, just let them go. However, if we have to follow with the Van Buren County Health Department, then we have to follow them, so we have to look at better enforcement in that. We have 54 current vendors and 38 responded, and giving us a very good response for the survey. I also wanted to say that we heard comments that maybe there were some inaccuracies in the accounting of the farm market. I can tell you, and I've shared this with some of the council members, that we did do an audit of what the farm market financial records are, not only what we have received, but also we have seen what the farm market manager has turned over. We have seen that those are reconciled, and we do not see any issues there.
Could I let me restate
sir.
that? There were accusations made about cash transactions that are not being accounted, and you're saying we can account for it all.
That's correct.
Yep.
We absolutely can. So just also to kind of go over some of so we would like to promote better communication and transparency between the farm market management and the vendors. So we've added a few things into the contract. One is to establish the formal grievance policy that I've talked about. Two, to create a 3-person farm market vendor selection committee. That way, because we had concerns that, you know, it wasn't fair, or that there were some people who were not being selected and they were afraid to speak out. So if we have a farm market selection committee, that would take out maybe the management company from doing that. So we have selected 3 people. Kathy Wagaman, who has also served as the farm market manager for the city, as well as runs, well, a craft show and a vendor show, as well as Carrie Hagee, who also runs the All Crafts Fair, I'm sorry, not the All Crafts Fair, the Juried Art Fair that occurs. So both of those entities, or ladies, both have very good experience running crafts and working with vendors, as well as Sue Brock, our own DDA director. That kind of brings in the downtown element that ties that in. We have suggestions to increase and improve signage. As you know, we already did this, but have the farm market management there at 7 a.m. on all setup days, and to create a community survey each year to make sure that we're getting that feedback. So those are the changes that we had. I wanted to provide that update to you. And one of the reasons why we're asking for an additional 4 years to make it a full 5-year extension is that when we typically work with vendors who are responsive, that are responsible, and who work well with us, we like to keep those relationships going. And here we see that we've worked well with Brad, that we're getting good responses from him, that he is working with us and able to grow with us. That's why we're asking for a 5-year.
In a 5-year deal, we've done that with stand-up paddle boards and kayaks. We've done that with our vendors on the beaches,
correct.
Boat slips. So this is pretty standard, a 5-year.
It's pretty standard for us to go to 5 years if everything's working properly, yes.
If they do, and we can always terminate.
That's correct. We have in the original contract, which I didn't link in here, but was in our August 7th materials, really there is a couple ways. If we find that there's a breach and we give the farm market 7 days, we could cancel the contract. Moreover, there's other mechanisms, whereas we both agree that this isn't working out, we can terminate the contract. And if we find that this is just not working out, we're seeing multiple issues and they're not correctable, we can terminate as well.
And we heard from the vendors tonight about the Blueberry Fest, and is that something you're going to dig into?
Yes, I do. And it brought to my attention that the Blueberry, National Blueberry Committee donated $30,000 to the pavilion, and I think there was an expectation that's why they had the craft fair there. Now, I think that there is something to definitely dig in there for having this much consternation about the moving, where they're moving to, as well as the traffic moving back and forth, because Huron Street is well used by vehicle traffic. So that's one for us to puzzle through with our special events coordinator and with other city staff and work out how best to address that, because if everyone's unhappy, we had to figure out how to make that better.
And if we got to close Huron down there, we can do that. And
like I said, I think there's options on the table, and we need to look at that.
I see some of the city staff nodding their heads
Yeah,
behind
we
you.
can do
Staff behind you's nodding their heads.
Got ideas, we got ideas.
Oh, okay.
And then, I guess, any other questions, comments? Go ahead.
Just a comment. I think staff really did a good job between the survey, changing the handbook, everything you said Also, I read, if I remember right, a 7 a.m. representative will always be there for the vendors. They also have a website for feedback from the consumer and the vendors. So I think they've done everything asked, and we got a different perspective tonight from a lot of the vendors. So I don't really have a problem with where it stands right now, because I do think it's easier for companies and organizations to plan when you give them a longer contract.
I went down to the market and spoke to vendors that I knew, and if I didn't know the vendors, I know a lot of current or former students that work down there, and got their opinion, and people said, Jeannie is the nicest person I've ever met. I thought it was very nice, because there was mean things said before, so
Yeah.
I thought that was nice. And they said they were happy with how things were going.
I think any time that you can secure something with today's environment and give people, businesses and employees a sense of security in the length of the contract, I think it's fair and negotiable that we go to 5 years.
I just wanted to say that I'm really happy to hear all the things that are going to be implemented for next year. It sounds like a lot of good things are going to take place to ensure that it is a great market and even better year after year. I still would like to see us stick with our 1 year just to kind of assess at the end of the farmer's market for next year, if the changes were implemented and how it went. So that's just where I am on that.
I've had a chance to work with Brad at a professional level, and I know he is accessible, very professional in all regards, so I have, no qualms with a longer contract. He does have a local office, newly renovated, which is a very nice space down the road here, which is nice. I too have been down at the market many times. I have a couple of vendors that aren't out there that have, again said things are going well with the market, no big issues. Some of these other issues, you don't have to wait till a meeting to call, as any of us do, by the way. You don't have to, show up here. We always take feedback, so don't feel like you gotta wait to come. So we're always game for feedback, so we'll work on some of those other concerns before your market gets going again, before that happens. So there you go. Anything else?
I'd make a motion to amend the farm market contract with Laser Management, increasing the term length to 5 years.
Second.
We've got a motion, we've got a second. Any comments on the 5-year extension? All right. Seeing none, why don't you just roll call it just to make sure?
Onuki?
No.
No. Reeser?
Yes.
Schlock?
Yes.
Sleeper?
Yes.
Wilkins?
Yes.
Arnold?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. Want to do a 5-minute recess? Everybody.
Make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Second.
Motion second, take a 5-minute recess. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, see you in 5.
Session?
Second.
Motion and second to go back into open session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're back in session. Very good. Next, City Council is going to be asked to consider a request to allow fireworks to be used on the Juneteenth holiday, which is June 19th. Now, this is into perpetuity or just this year?
The request that I had was in perpetuity, so this would be an ordinance amendment.
Gotcha, I was just,
Sure.
very good. So that's the request.
I'll make a motion to allow fireworks to be used on the Juneteenth holiday, June 19th.
So, before you make that motion, if
Okay.
I may, what I'm looking for is to see if this is where council would like to go. We did have a request from a local citizen who does organize our Juneteenth activities. The first year she did the Juneteenth, she had asked for fireworks, and she did them at her private residence. This last year, she did not make a fireworks request, but she did let them off anyway. She did follow up with a request to modify our ordinance to allow for it, because even though it is a state and federal holiday, the state does not include Juneteenth as a fireworks date, or I should say, a date that fireworks can be used and discharged. But the city could add a date for Juneteenth. So that's what the request is. So if the council is amenable to that, we're just looking for some directions to staff so we can draft an ordinance to bring back to introduce and of course adopt in a two-part adoption process. I put in the staff report some options. The city of Grand Rapids has amended their fireworks ordinance to allow for fireworks displays on June 19th. And that is an option. The city of Kalamazoo amended their ordinance to allow for fireworks displays on June 19th if that date is a Friday or a Saturday, otherwise the third Saturday in June. All of the fireworks, per the state statute, would go until 11:45.
So on page 129 of the packet, that draft ordinance is not, you're not looking for a motion to introduce that?
I didn't put that on the agenda as a motion to introduce, so I would probably set that as a motion to introduce in October.
Okay.
Okay.
This is just showing you how it would look if that is the June 19th date and how it would look in our ordinance. Yes, ma'am.
So will the fireworks be let off at her home or in the park or where?
By all of our, by our ordinance, all fireworks have to be set off at private property unless part of a special event like we do with the July 3rd fireworks. So we do not allow fireworks in the parks unless it's with a specific special event, like we do with the pier, right? That's something else. So this would be at your consumer grade fireworks at your personal property.
So everyone can do it?
Everyone can do it.
Got it.
I like the concept of Friday or Saturday or the third Saturday in June personally, if that's was the wording, as I heard you say it. I mean, that was.
Right,
That
and
would,
that's-
I worry about weeknights and you're, got to go to work tomorrow morning.
It
people
is
out.
tough because, Juneteenth is a Monday, and that's really tough for a lot of people.
That would be my personal.
I was saying, I think Juneteenth falls on a Wednesday next year.
Yeah, I beg your pardon. June 19th falls at different times of the week versus a Saturday, which many places would be doing an observation. So, again, I put that in there as, that's one kind of draft, but we can, like I said, the city of Kalamazoo does it either Juneteenth, like the June 19th if it's a Friday or a Saturday versus the third Saturday of the month. Either way, whatever council's looking to do, we can write that up and get that into an ordinance to bring it back to you for an introduction.
So pretty much everyone is doing Saturdays, is that what you're saying?
I've seen two different ways of doing it. It can either be the day of, the actual date of observation, or you can do it the third Saturday of the month and just make it that. So it's really what council would like to do.
And it's till 11:45 at night, right?
Yes. That's what they all are on for Memorial Day, July 3rd, of course, July 4th. There's like 5 or 6 days for July 4th, and that's the state law. And then, of course, Labor Day and New Year's Eve.
I guess I would be most interested in, I don't know, talking to some people in our Black community about their preferences for if they want to light off fireworks on June 19th, that's important to them, or if it could be a Saturday or Sunday to coincide with the festival or whatever. I don't know that I have.
It seems like she's
Answer.
been doing the celebration anyways on Saturdays.
Yes, she mostly has. Mhm.
So I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Okay.
Okay. The Kalamazoo one seems to be the one that is geared more towards the weekend. So if Juneteenth is on a Friday, most places might have the actual Juneteenth on a Friday. Or if you find that most places are going to do it on Saturday, just because they know that people have time off on Saturday usually, and they're going to be organizing in parks, then maybe city staff can draft this for the third Saturday. So,
I kind of like the way Kalamazoo has theirs.
so it gives you some flexibility if it's on a Friday or a Saturday, or if it's not on those, then it's the third Saturday in June.
I like that.
Okay.
Agreed.
My question would be if we talk to the fire chief and the police chief or anything on what they would prefer.
I have not, but I'm happy to discuss that with them and get their feedback.
I think if we can get some of their feedback and bring that back with you, I would appreciate that too.
Absolutely.
Good comments. All right, anybody else? Otherwise, you've got direction?
I do.
Okay. Let's go on. Let's see, City Council is going to be asked to get in, or discuss the DPW locker room improvement project. Good evening, Bill.
Good evening, Your Honor, City Council. Finally getting back to City Council, this goes back to probably when we did the amendments to the capital improvement plan for the Kids Corner. During that time period, we were crunched for money because the prices came in a little higher than we thought. So we did an amendment to City Council to amend the budget to remove at that time the locker room improvements at the DPW building. In that current budget, we had it listed at $80,000. So we had some feedback on there. So what I did was I went back to your original consultant, and through numerous emails and phone calls and them not responding, I chose actually to seek another consultant to take a look at it. Just to give you a little background, the original one that was put in the budget was for 2019. So I asked Fishbeck, Thompson, Carr, and Huber, I'm sorry, they're just Fishbeck now, I'm so used to that. So they took a look at that conceptual design, and they found some things that weren't addressed in the original concept. One of them was actually moving the lockers would create actually some major concrete work, as well as we weren't meeting the current American Disabilities Act when we're splitting something up, meaning we have to have ADA showers on both sides. So with that actually, and their prices came in at $358,792, which would have been an increase actually of 326%. Now, I wasn't shocked. We've had actually things come in this much higher. For example, we just bid something out on Dunkley, and original budget estimate for that was 1.5, and that came in 4.1. To answer your question, I gave you some standard language that they're using, for example, why prices are coming in, but bottom line, there's just so many projects out there and supply chain issues and increased demand, they're just jacking everything up. So I only budgeted $120,000, so I have to recommend to City Council that we push this off additional year or so, or any direction City Council would like to give us would be greatly appreciated, so.
Are there any ADA grants that we could apply for to cover some of the costs?
I'm not aware of ADA grants that I could apply for this, no. I mean, that's a good idea, or some kind of grant, but usually most of my grants consist of infrastructure, and I haven't seen anything that's crossed my desk for that kind of money.
I guess my preference would just be obviously, try to look forward to see if we can move the project up, because obviously we want to make equitable,
Yes.
accommodation. So whatever we can do to get that done as quickly as we can, I think that would be the direction all of us would say. And if there's other stuff that could be set aside to get that done.
Yeah, I'd hate to see it get pushed off to like the end of the capital improvement plan, since I feel like it's already way past when we should have gotten it done, but I understand the reasons.
Yes.
Anything else? I think
You know, we just had a presentation on DEI and how we're supposed to embrace it. If this were men's lockers, I hate to be sarcastic, but this would have been done a long time ago. And I can't see any reason to push this off. I know it's expensive, but I think we should really do it and not keep pushing it off. It's only going to go up more. So I say do it.
Okay. So, yeah, let's see. Thoughts, ideas? So, I think most would say as quickly as we can get it done, so.
Bill, is this your last meeting?
This is Bill's last meeting with us.
Yes, sir.
Wondering.
Yes, sir.
You will have one more chance to talk to Bill if you come to our Touch Truck event.
That's right. Come on.
I'll reserve it for my comments. Just wanted to confirm.
It is, it is.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, thank you, Bill. All right, so let's go on. City Council is going to be asked to consider a motion to accept the DEI assessment report from Inclusive Performance Strategies as presented.
Make a motion to accept the DEI assessment report from Inclusion Performance Strategies as presented.
Second.
All right, motion is second. Griffin?
I don't have anything to add other than we had a really successful workshop meeting prior to this regular meeting today where Inclusive Performance Strategies came back to present to you all for the third time the final equity assessment final report. We have a number of recommendations for them that staff will be working to prepare an implementation plan and then eventually implement over the upcoming years. It's just the beginning of this journey, but this is, I know, something that City Council specifically requested, I think, almost 2 years ago now. So we are pleased that this step in the process has been accomplished, but there's much more yet to do.
Good. And this is one of our priorities, so accomplishing priorities for this group, which is good. And again, nice workshop tonight by Paul. Any other comments? Otherwise, motion and a second to approve.
I was going to say, when folks take a look at the report, as we did, and I know Kim did too, when you first see it, you're kind of taken aback, but Paul told us, nope, we're in good position. We got good places to go with this. You know, can you elaborate on that?
Sure. I think it's important for everyone, you know, in the audience and at home and on council just to remember is, you know, the intent of doing this assessment was to give us an evaluation of where we are now and to give us some direction on where we can go in the future. So yes, there are a number of recommendations. There are a number of areas we can definitely improve in. But now that we got this professional advice from the consultant, we now know where we can start taking some steps.
Okay. Very good. All right, motion and a second to accept the DEI assessment report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is accepted. Very good. Now, City Council is going to be asked to introduce a plan unit development application from Locker and Locker Properties regarding the Center Street redevelopment project. Review and discuss the attached information and set a public hearing on this topic to occur at City Council's regularly scheduled meeting on October the 16th, 2023 at 7 p.m.
I'll make a motion to introduce the plan unit development application from Locker and Locker Properties regarding the Center Street redevelopment project.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Who's kicking this off?
I'm going to give it to Griffin, and we're going to tag team this one a little bit.
All right, this is important. Let's hear it.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone, again. So the applicant's proposing a 5-story mixed-use building along Phoenix Street, Center Street, and Quaker Street in downtown South Haven. The plan includes new commercial space, 29 residential dwelling units, 67 parking spaces, 2 public restrooms that would be accessible from Center Street, and much more. This project is planned on approximately 0.82 acres of land in the Central Business District. There are some waivers being requested as part of the PUD process regarding height, the parking structure, ramp slope, and landscaping, with the intent of producing a higher quality development and more public benefit than would be possible otherwise. This project has been in the works for quite some time, since at least 2021, when the City of South Haven, the Michigan Municipal League, and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation worked with the applicant to develop a site-specific strategy for this priority redevelopment site. This project was brought to the Planning Commission for preliminary review on April 13, and final review with public hearing on September 7. The Planning Commission ultimately voted 8-1 to recommend this item to City Council with a number of conditions noted in your staff report. And the applicant is present this evening to give a short overview presentation and answer any questions you may have on the project prior to the public hearing that we are seeking to be scheduled for the October 16th regular City Council meeting.
Present away. Come on up. Good evening.
Good evening.
Just come on up. State your name and address.
All
and
right,
we'll-
thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Adam Locker, and I'm the co-project manager for this Center Street redevelopment project. I'm here on behalf of Locker and Locker Properties, as well as my parents, Randy and Karen Locker, who have been proud members of the South Haven community since 1986, and have always been committed to making South Haven a great place to live and to work. I should, at this time, also acknowledge that my graduating class of 2003 will be celebrating our 20th anniversary in a couple weeks at Ratcliffe Field, and looking forward to being a part of that. I'll start by acknowledging the remarks on 253 Center Street. Our family, our company, has a ton of gratitude for the remarks that have been given of how that project turned out. We, too, are very proud of our ability to save a previously dilapidated and largely given up on building. And we're excited to present this continuation of the redevelopment of the block with this particular plan. The work on Center Street, as Griffin mentioned, began over 2 years ago with the goal of creating useful and beautiful space in an area of downtown that, before we had purchased it, had been left largely unusable, while still existing within standard zoning regulations. The work began as we involved the city in 2 virtual stakeholder meetings that were initially held on May 17th and 18th in 2021. And additionally, we held an open house at City Hall on May 26th in 2021. These meetings included participation from local business owners, entrepreneurs, active residents, DDA members, planning commissioners, members of the City Council, and others within our community. These meetings provided an opportunity to present an introduction to the project and to gather and address community feedback about the redevelopment. Feedback was taken from those meetings, and with preliminary site plans nearly complete, we engaged with the Planning Commission in a preliminary site plan review to make sure that our plans met their expectations. And we're really grateful for the feedback that was given from the Planning Commission, and we were able to provide clarity on the questions that came from that preliminary site plan review. We heard the Planning Commission express excitement and enthusiasm about the project, and they also wanted a large city benefit to be able to recommend this project. Ultimately, the Planning Commission voted to recommend that City Council grant waivers for the necessary ramp grade deviation to be able to provide on-site parking for the overall height, and that the total amount of landscaping can be provided in alternate formats. These waivers will result in higher quality development than would otherwise have been possible, and would further the goals of the city and would result in substantial public benefit. The application proposes to accomplish several of the City of South Haven's goals as laid out in the master plan, the economic development plan, City Council's strategic goals, and the Downtown Development Authority's strategic plan and priority project list, which includes housing diversity, housing attainability, mixed uses, outdoor seating, parking, pedestrian safety, partnerships, available public restrooms, streetscape, promotion of year-round use, an effort to attract workers and businesses, central business district vibrancy, central business district housing, and the redevelopment of the Center Street space between Phoenix and Quaker Street. Specifically, by utilizing additional height and providing parking space on the entire second floor of this building, we are not only able to provide all of the required residential parking, but also lessen the parking burden in the city. We are also able to provide the City of South Haven with public restrooms within the Central Business District. These items, among others, would not be proposed in an application that would be developed under traditional zoning requirements, which is why we took this route. The parallel plan submitted demonstrates that development can be achieved that fits within the zoning ordinance without waivers. However, without the opportunity for additional residential spaces as a source of income, the project cannot support the added amenities that the community could directly benefit from. The construction materiality of finishes and lighting will also need to be reduced from an elevated level to a more economical one. Therefore, the parallel plan is not a viable plan. As you can see in our plans, we do intend to respect, support, and complement the City of South Haven's existing look and feel, while keeping with the rhythm of the surrounding architecture, pedestrian pathways, lighting, and landscaping, all in a vacant section of the vibrant central business district. The scale of this project will be the most extensive development and most significant addition to the downtown in many decades, and it will fulfill many opportunities and goals identified in the city's master plan, DDA strategic plan, and the city council's adopted goals. And we do hope that this development will be a catalyst to spur future economic growth in the South Haven Central Business District. We do hope that others continue to improve our downtown, that others replace boarded up windows with actual windows, and that we create something beautiful in currently vacant land. Downtown South Haven, specifically the block on Center Street between Phoenix and Quaker Street, is in need of renewal and redevelopment, and it's now part of our comprehensive plan for the Center Street project, which is why we're here tonight. Locker and Locker Properties purchased the property on Center Street between Quaker and Phoenix in May of 2019, and we've been working diligently for the past 4 years to develop a plan in collaboration with city leaders and community members that will bring important redevelopment and renewal to this once vibrant section of downtown South Haven. So thank you for having us tonight. We do have our entire team here, and we also brought along a little presentation from the architecture firm that we're working with to show some of the reasoning behind the choices that have been made and how they've developed some of the plans from some of the goals that we had created. So thank you for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So there's another, okay, perfect comment. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Tony Reiner. I'm an architect with Tower Pinkster. We're based out of Kalamazoo. And I'll wait for Griffin to cue up the slides.
Hopefully you had some caffeine. You're still going strong.
Yeah, I feel for you guys, though. You've been here since 5, I hear, huh? We'll try to make it super
It's all
quick.
good. All good.
Kind of crazy that Acrobat changed their format. Throws me off. You good? Okay, just a quick orientation of the site in relationship to the overall context. So I am based out of Kalamazoo, but we've spent a great deal of time in South Haven once we've met the Lockers. And one thing my wife and I realized quickly was there's a lot of activity along Phoenix Street and a lot of activity along the river, but it always feels like sort of a quiet dead zone in between. It feels like there's these two zones and there's not a nice direct link. So what was enthusiastic about this project, I think, and ambitious and relevant, was placing a lot of program along Center Street so that you'll have people, you'll have activation that can start to bridge that gap between these two zones. And just looking at the plan, you can start to see that the Lockers have planned for several commercial spaces, as well as matching the quality of material, vegetation, landscaping, seating on the perimeter. Not only opening up a new space on Center Street, but also if you look to the north on Quaker, matching the character that is at the corner. So these commercial spaces have the ability to have that indoor-outdoor connectivity. So a bird's eye view looking down from the corner. So here you can just start to see at that ground level that vibrancy, that opportunity for a variety of activities. And certainly charm and character is subjective, but what we feel is not is exposing people to activity inside. So we feel that it's the people that make the character. And that's why we're choosing mostly glass. So it is a little bit different than what you start to see in South Haven in terms of more massive facades and brick with smaller windows. This is certainly opening up on the west side to expose that activity within and let the people activate and become that presence. Again, that's going to link the two districts. And then moving up architecturally, trying to take advantage of this site in sort of a Z formation so that it really starts to become efficient in terms of the opportunity for density. In this case, this is the parking level, the ramp up in that top left corner that brings everybody up, and then stacking residential. In terms of the facade, the intent on the west at least was to create a sort of classical rhythm where we mask the parking so that the retail and the parking start to feel like one story. But that as you move along Center Street, you're really going to experience more of that activity and connectivity to the activation inside. And then another a big difference, I think, is that the facade isn't solid. It's not a plane. There's a variety of depth. And again, what's going to happen with that is that you're going to have people on their balconies, people in the restaurants, people on the retail. So that, well, buildings, in my opinion, have two lives. The one that we design and look at on paper, and then the one after that. And certainly, nobody will ever experience the building from this perspective, but I think what they will experience is people on balconies, people eating, people drinking, people socializing, vegetation, art. And I think that's what's really going to make this beautiful, is the way that this starts to frame up that activity. But in terms of some of the things that you see along Phoenix, each building does have its own unique charm and character. There really isn't anything architecturally in terms of facade to tie into. But what there is to tie into is this vertical rhythm, that each building sort of has this scale, almost like these piano keys. And I think to the left, even though this building, clearly nobody's saying that it's not quite a bit larger, but we're breaking that up into to read as two buildings, one on the right and one on the left, and then stepping that upper level back. But you can see here that even the buildings to the right that are only 3 stories, they do get up to that 49-foot height because they have taller upper levels, they have taller facades. So we're only at 61 feet, but we're much more efficient in terms of floor to floor. So those are activated spaces. That's fine. And we just wanted to talk quickly a little bit about why we chose some of the materials. So clearly South Haven is a beautiful coastal Lake Michigan town. So looking at how the dune grass, the water, the sand, you know, the shade and shadow on the sand could start to inform travertine and tumbled brick, and bringing in some of those sandstone colors with marble and sandstone and limestone. But also one of the relics, one of the pieces of heritage is that iron cast lighthouse. So we found this brick where they put manganese iron and actually bake it into the clay. So bringing that sort of reflective iron color. And it's just this blend of this sandstone color with this industrial iron to sort of tie into the relics as well as the surrounding context. And just how you can start to see that tie into some of the architecture. And again, the top, how we start to tie into that vertical rhythm, the lower piece, you'll never really experience the building in elevation like this, but you can imagine walking along Center. In these darker moments, that would all be transparent. It would be a low E iron glass, so fully transparent, activated with color and people and activity, as well as up above with all of the balconies and vegetation. Now coming around onto Quaker, the way that Z formation that we looked at, it does a nice job of framing this sort of alley that allows cars to get back. But what we've done is we've put all of the ground level activation, not only on the street, but with the opportunity, at least visually, to connect to this alley. So you could imagine the opportunity moving forward for some of this program to spill out onto the alley, spill out onto the street, and again, have that transparency. And then as we move up, looking at stepping the building back. So it's those terraces of life, those terraces of people living and vegetation. Swinging around then back onto Center Street, again, that activation, an opportunity for the restaurant identity to have a presence and a sense of entry and arrival on the north and the vegetation and openings up above. I mean, I think it's incredible having living spaces that are indoor, outdoor for each tenant, to have that ability to connect with the street. And then finally, just coming back into that character where you can see we're allowing the building to break up in scale. That iron spot brick starts to have a presence to sort of differentiate between existing and new. And then on the left, what appears to be solid, that would be this quilt or this mosaic of sandstone, limestone, and travertine, and bringing this scale down with these canopies that move along the street with plants and vegetation. And then just a final shot, Griffin, of how you can start to see that, well, it is a lot bigger. There are a lot of aspects, in terms of where the brick stops and we start to taper the roof back. That fifth story is pushed back considerably, and it's all glass, so it'll really reflect the sky. But trying to do our best with such a large project, but having it fit that rhythm and scale along Phoenix. Are there any questions about the design?
Questions, anybody? No? Looks very good, so
Thank
thank you very much, appreciate it. Good? We're good? Okay. Now it's in our court. Anyone want to kick it off?
I was just saying, Kate, in my motion, do I need to add mentioning the public hearing, setting the date for the public hearing?
I would prefer that. That way that people don't believe that it's going to be our next meeting, which would be October 2nd. So by naming the actual date would be very clear as to when we would be coming back for a public hearing. So
So
October.
I'd like to amend my motion to say, and set a public hearing on this topic to occur in City Council regular meeting on October 16th, 2023 at 7 p.m.
Second.
Got it. Okay. Anybody want to kick it off? Comments? Or are we just good to?
I think I'm good to the public hearing.
Good to public hearing? Good to public hearing?
Can we ask some questions now?
Sure, absolutely. It's our time.
You ready?
Go.
Okay. First one. Well, before I even ask the question, I want to thank you for taking your money, your energy, and you're a local and putting it in our own city. It's absolutely wonderful. It's ideal. Having said that, just a couple questions. Parking. I've had some residents ask me about that, so I just want clarification. Will the parking be available to anybody in the downtown, or will it only be available to those shopping in the stores, or how much of the parking is going to be only available to those who live above the stores?
Sure. Just come on up. State your name and address, so we have it for the record, and then we'll.
My name's Randy Locker, living here in South Haven. Parking-wise, what that's going to entail, the extra parking will be for like our commercial people that are in there. I mean, we will control the parking at the beginning, not knowing how this project's going to go. We've had a lot of things up in the air for the last few years, trying to figure out how this was going to work and what was going to happen. If you're asking, will the door be opened for everybody just to go in and drive and park when they want? At this part, we don't know. Right now, I'm trying to make it so the extra commercial space that we're making, they have places to park. It's not worrying about city parking or street parking. They have places to go. We have worked with, I'm working with a couple big restaurants that want to come to town, and part of their problem about coming to town is parking. And these are not mom and pop shops, these are well-known places. And the problem is they don't want to come unless I can guarantee them Friday and Saturday night valet parking. And that's kind of the stuff it's going to be used for those times, so.
And Joe, I think one thing we can do to try to help clarify for the public is I think there's been some confusion around the term public parking. So I think I can try to clarify for City Council and anyone else who's listening. I don't think we want people to think of these parking spots as public parking like you would a city-owned public
Parking ramp.
free parking lot.
Right.
What I think you can think of these spots as there are significant parking above the minimum requirement off-street parking that would be available to individuals who are going to be vendoring these businesses. So there's going to be the opportunity for people to use these spots, but not anyone, any day, whenever they want. They would need to be going and tenanting these businesses.
And
And that's
just,
not unlike some cities do that. Right.
That's not unlike most private parking lots, yes.
yeah, and so, I mean, because at any given time, there's, I mean, I've heard estimates of 150 plus, whatever, of our store owners are parking downtown. And we know there's, you know, we've tried to shuttle and whatnot, but so if there was ability to even have the employees parking in there, that would be less pressure on downtown parking.
Yeah, I would look at it, I mean, so we're talking, 60 to 70 parking spots, like 67 parking spots. Obviously, a certain number of those are required for the dwelling units they're proposing, but they're proposing, above and beyond off-street parking. As Adam mentioned, part of the benefit of a project like this is they're trying to prevent their development downtown from adding to what many perceive to be parking stress in our downtown. So think about the old Family Video, or think about, Meyer, for example. They have their own parking lots. They're not necessarily public, but yet if you go to vend at those places, you're welcome to use those. So they're going to be accessible to people.
Great. Were there other questions?
I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
PUD, Randy. There's three options, obviously, short-term rentals, there's the year-long rentals, and then there's ownership. What are your plans to do with it?
Well, ownership, there'll be, as far as condos available to buy. We're looking to keep a certain number of them for apartments to add to the 12 that we have on the corner already. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking to do.
And no short-term rentals?
That's not my plan, never has been my plan.
Okay. And then the last one. I would love to see a couple of good restaurants downtown. I think a lot of people would, because especially in the summer, and I love some of the restaurants downtown, but you can wait 2 hours to get into them.
Right.
So do you have any inkling whether you can really get restaurants in, or are you just going to leave the buildings open to whoever wants them, whoever has the highest bid, or they can pay the price? Are you really going to consciously try to?
We have had negotiations, yes.
Okay.
But I can't put them on paper until I know what I can and can't do.
You have a project.
Gotta have a building.
So yes,
Okay.
Thank you.
If you
that's
build
part
it,
of what went into the thought of all the extra parking. For
And
that
then the
reason.
last comment, I want to thank the architect. He did a great job in some of the photographs. I have a better idea what it's going to look like and the materials.
He's done a great job.
And if it's helpful for council and the public, we also do have a Center Street redevelopment webpage on the city's website where a lot of those renderings and graphics are available if you all or members of the public want to take a look at those.
I just have a quick question.
go ahead.
I don't know if you'll be able to answer it, but can you think of any structure in the area that is about the height of the building that you want to build? So about 62 feet, just for a visual point of reference.
Housing Commission?
Yeah,
Housing
Housing
Commission?
Commission right
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
It's
I was
probably
just-
higher.
It's probably higher.
It's higher than.
From
Okay.
one side of the street.
That's correct, from the William Street side.
Okay, thank you.
well, it's an exciting project. I'm excited we're finally here. I've been here almost 30 years, and that area's been blighted ever since I've been here. So it addresses a lot of goals, and I look forward to more information and more comments from everybody else. So I'll just say great work, and thanks for hanging around for 2.5 hours to tell us.
Thank you.
Just one thing relating to Joe's question on short-term rentals, one of the conditions put on the project is a covenant that prevents these units from being short-term rentals.
Yeah, I read that. I just wanted to hear Randy say it.
Nice thing about having a local developer. You know who you're dealing with. Okay, we have, right, the motion, we have the second to introduce it, and at our meeting on October the 16th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Unanimous. The date is set. See everybody on October the 16th. And now we're at the time of the meeting. We take public comment. And thank you all. You guys are ready to sneak out of here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll let you guys go ahead and go start your coffee or whatever. Yeah, soon. So next will be public comments. Again, this is for citizens in the audience to be heard on items that were not on the agenda. And again, if you have any comments, come on up, state your name and address. You'll have up to 5 minutes. Going once, going twice. Sold. Oh, you almost made it. Good evening, Mary.
Good evening, Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. So I have a shout out for Chief Natalie Thompson. She coordinated a roundtable with Attorney General Nessel, who actually was here in person. Chief Thompson did an excellent, fantastic job bringing together people from different areas. Van Buren County Prosecutor Susan Zeiderveen was there, Circuit Court Judge Brickley was present, and nonprofit stakeholders. City Council Person Wendy Onuki, City Manager Kate Hosier, nonprofits, so Melanie Hooker from Domestic Violence Coalition, who is Executive Director, and they have a contract with the county, and they help with domestic violence victims and sexual assault victims, and Robin McGinnis from Cora Lamping Center, and police from the state level to the county level to local levels, so Van Buren, South Haven, Covert, and it was just a really nice roundtable discussion about, legislation that's recently passed, pending, and Attorney General just really wanted feedback. It was really enlightening to see the open discussion and candid discussion and her willingness to handle that, to have that type of discussion. It was really an honor to be a part of that. And just a PSA, so September 28th, AAUW of South Haven is hosting a candidate forum from 7 to 9 p.m. at Listiak Auditorium. So hope everybody can come. Thanks.
Thanks for comments. Was there anybody else before we call this? Going once, going twice. Sold. City Manager comments. Kate, how are you?
Well, thank you, Mayor. I did want to thank everyone who came out tonight. It's nice to see a lot of people here, and we got some good feedback that we can work on with the different farm market and blueberry festival. So there's stuff that we can work on. I did want to bring council's attention to a press release that was issued today explaining that we're going to be extending the beach safety program through September 24th. So that'll be our last day, and then no more beach safety starting September 25th, that Monday. We're just seeing some seasonal weather, and we're just going to continue that for the next week or so. But that does mean that we will continue to monitor the pier conditions, and if they need to be closed, we will be closing them. But that means also that no more yellow, red, green flags out there. So we did put that up, and we'll put that up on the city's website. We did have a very good DEI session, a work session earlier today, where we kind of walked through the program with IPS, Paul from IPS, as well as city staff. I did want to acknowledge and give kudos to both Griffin Graham and Kim Wise for their very good efforts, their hard work, and their professionalism in that assessment. They were really taking the charge on that and providing a lot of documentation and making sure we got surveys out. So kudos to Griffin and Kim on the DEI equity assessment. More to come on that, because I know there's a lot of hard work that we have to do going forward. And then lastly, it is very sad that today is Bill Hunter's last meeting. I can tell you it has been my pleasure and my honor working with Bill since he came to the city in 2016. I've enjoyed his steady approach, his leadership, as well as his expertise and experience. It is a loss, and we wish Bill in his endeavors in Sparta, although we hate Sparta. He will be missed, but we know why. That he's got family up there, he's got grandkids and his parents. So we miss Bill, but please come out to our Touch a Truck Wednesday, September 27th, and come out and say goodbye to Bill for one last time. Those are my comments.
Very good. Any questions for Kate? Nothing. All right. Council comments. I'll start on my left.
No comment.
Students are good?
Students are great.
Very good.
Teacher is great.
Teachers, that's-
So I have this about, it'll go fast. It's like 8 or 10 minutes about Bill Hunter.
good. Here
I'll
comes
try
the
and
dirt.
make it really
Here
quick.
comes the dirt.
I just want to say thank you personally. You joined the city about the same time I became a councilman, so we've been through this together, but I think I'm going to outlast you by a month or so. Anyway, just want to say thank you very much, and also to the farmers, thank you very much. It looks like they had a good group of people here, and they're doing something good for our town, so I appreciated all that as well, and everybody else's comments tonight. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
I'll just say thanks to Bill as well. I always appreciated his direct approach to things and no nonsense. And he's, a big loss for us, but a big win for Sparta.
Ms. Wendy.
Yep, I will just echo that comment too and say, Bill, we're gonna miss you here, but I wish you all the best.
Thanks to staff for extending the beach safety program for some extra days. That's much appreciated. Also, thanks to Bill Hunter being on the Board of Public Utilities. I've had a chance to work closely with Bill. He's a great guy, and we'll miss him, but best of luck to him. The one thing I have a question on, the restrooms at the pavilion, I am disappointed that we went through the entire summer and we never got those restrooms done. So I'd like to try to see sometime what the status of that is and if we could get an update on when they might actually get done. That's it.
If I can just jump in, I do know that we had some product delays. We had some items that had to be changed, and because we had to change them, we went to the back of the queue for that product or that item to come in. And we were stymied with countertops, a door, and door hardware. We are having the contractors come back, I think, want to say either later this week or next, but they should be open in the beginning of October. And my apologies, it has been one of the most frustrating things this summer is the lack of those bathrooms, so.
Darn supply chain. Joe?
My only comment is thank you, like everyone else said, Bill. I remember one time I panicked and thought something was wrong with my water, and you, within an hour, had a couple people out and reassured me it was my issue, not the city. And I still laugh when I was knocking on doors, campaigning, and you answered the door, and you were so polite. Thank you.
Very good. Well, fall's here, so this is the reminder, shop local, go to the restaurants, they're open, so keep supporting our local businesses, they're looking for our support. Our last meeting was in the park, for those, we didn't have many of you there, but we had a good meeting. We had spiders, it was a very. Darkness, it was a good setting. So anyway, again, kudos to staff, our IT folks that are able to pull off a meeting in a park. It's way more difficult than it takes them hours of getting ready to allow them to broadcast that out. So kudos for making that possible. Kudos to the Hills Redevelopment, to the Locker family for bringing that for us. And Bill, yes, thank you. You're amazing. I mean, your knowledge base, I don't know how we're going to replace it. There might be 3 bills to point how we do it. Yes, my Bill story would be the time when I had lost, let's see, the power went out and the cell phones went out at the same time. And I thought, what could happen if the phones and the power goes out? I'm thinking some awful world catastrophe has happened, and it was just the cell phone tower went out at the same time as. But Bill was home I had to go to Bill's house to find him because I had no one else to call. Because City Hall, no one at the no one was around. So anyway, Bill assured me the world had not ended that day, and we were good. Just AT&T and the power at the same time.
That's funny.
So Bill saved the day. Thank you very much. All right, and on that note, thanks for everybody's comments. Seek a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.